There goes the button. All right, how was that? Smooth. Always a smooth startup. All right, guys, this is Tara Devlin. Thank you for hanging out. I don't think the music went through, but that's okay. You guys will let me know. How's it looking? How's it sounding? We meet here every Friday evening at the Tarabuster YouTube channel at youtube.com/C for channel/Tarabuster and the Political Voices Substack. I'm just checking to make sure that is going. Okay, we are going. We have liftoff everywhere. I don't know. My hair, I need to dye my roots. I need a haircut. I'm looking a little raggy. This is why, this is the liberal media. This is what you get. You don't get, I don't have, makeup artists. This is it. You do it anyway, right? You show up anyway. And I guess I've gotten to the point, I guess it's a level of freedom in getting older. Because in some ways, I don't really care. So I knew that was going to come. I was told when I was younger, when, by my older friends, that they would say, eventually you really just won't give a shit. And I appreciate that freedom. All right, guys. Yeah, it's all right. Thank you, guys. Jim says it looks fine, but I'm talking about my hair, really. But it's okay. We're going to have a doctor on later, and he's going to call in about what time? 8. I told him to call in at 8:15. I just want to make sure I have everything ready. And he's written an incredibly interesting book. Hold on a second. Shit. Where's all my stuff? Don't you hate when that happens? It's called Building the Healthy American Building the Healthy America Ecosystem. And we're going to talk about the that pit in our stomachs that everyone feels. I don't know about you. I feel it. We were talking about it the other day with Rachel Bitterkoffer on the Tara Show, and she joined us on the Tara Show with on every Tuesday and Thursday on the Political Voices Network. Myself and Tara Dublin host a show called the Tara Show, and this past Thursday, Rachel Bitterkoffer joined us, and she was talking about the pit in our stomachs, and I got that pit, and so what I'm hoping that Dr. Phillip Polakoff, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, that's why I'm being a little bit hesitant. I'm sure he will correct me. Polakoff, I think. Dr. Phillip Polakoff will discuss how the threats to democracy are bad for our health, the times that we're living in, and what we can do about it. And that doesn't mean that we disengage from the battle that we're in, because that would be, I think, political malpractice, frankly. Yeah, it's easy to go and disconnect. I suppose that would be wonderful, but I don't know about you, but I feel like we have a patriotic duty to save this country from the fascists. I don't know. What did we do to deserve sharing the same air with such a disgusting waste of human DNA like Traitor Trump? I don't know. Philosophers will be unpacking that for years, but we'll see when Dr. Phillip comes on in a few minutes. What time? And in about 40 minutes. I'm interested in hearing what he has to say, because I would like to address the health issue. And I know everything is connected. Everything is politics. That's why another thing that Rachel Bitterkoffer was talking about the other day, that people who most people just don't know about politics. They don't engage with politics because and actually, we were discussing how it's a lot of people consider it some kind of moral high ground to simply wave it off as if they're above the fray. But the fact is, everything is politics. And like that old famous Bertolt Brecht quote, right? Bertolt, let me find it, which is one of my favorite quotes. I should know it by heart by now. The worst illiterate is the political illiterate. He doesn't hear, doesn't speak, nor participate in the political events. He doesn't know that the cost of life, the price of the bean, of the fish, of the flour, of the rent, of the shoes, and of the medicine all depends on political decisions. The political illiterate is so stupid that he is proud and swells up his chest saying that he hates politics. The imbecile doesn't know that from his political ignorance is born the prostitute, the abandoned child, and the worst thieves of all, the bad politician, corrupted and flunky of the national and multinational companies. How apropos is that quote for today? Written for the time that he lived in, but it still applies. And it really is, it seems like a daunting task. We certainly have our work cut out for us, right? And you're right, Ed, on the chat. We learn from history. People don't learn from history. That's what we learn from history, is that, yeah, people don't learn from history. And I guess we have to go through it again until, and you know, we do have a lot of work to do. And every day, that's why I have this pit in my stomach, because when I consider everything that we have to do in order to save this country from the fascists, and then shore up the everything that they destroyed. They really have us up against the ropes here. But I'm not going to give up until, I guess, I don't have any more life in my body. So that's it. And thank you, Jim, for your super chat. Right out of the gate. And thank you, Jim, for also being a moderator in the chat room. And another thing I have to say, I was, you know, my Tarabuster merch store is down now. That's where I get my mugs from and whatnot. And I didn't realize it was down. And anyway, whatever. It's a long story. Apparently, the person that I hired to do my store used a theme that they didn't own, and it was hit with like a copyright infringement, and then they shut my store down. So I'm trying to get it back up. So in the meantime, there's no mugs. I can't get you a mug, and I'll hopefully get the damn store back one of these days. It's kind of annoying, you know. But what do you? I don't know. I thought that they used a theme that, you know, they own. That's why you pay somebody. All right. And what else do I have to say? Oh, thank you, Charlie from APS Radio News, for all your donations to this show and the community cats, helping the community cats, helping keep them in shelters with food and, you know, year round. Thank you so much for all your generosity and your kindness. And for keeping the show going and growing. And in the meantime, if you can become a patron, it will help. Patreon.com/TaraDevlin. Because we don't have big billionaire benefactors. We only have each other. All right, let me put this up. There's my little Venmo. Not that, okay. I hate e-begging. That's probably why I'm so bad at it. I really am. I hate it. I wish I was independently wealthy. And that's the other thing. You know, when you think about, this is one thing that everything sucks, okay? Now that we're all caught up. When I'm thinking about what happened with Colbert getting pulled off the air, no doubt because of, you know, don't believe what they're saying. The 40 million, oh, he was losing money. That's bullshit. They didn't even try. Even if that's true. He's the #1 rated show, and they didn't even try to cut costs. There are things that you do before you completely eviscerate and destroy an entire franchise that's been around for generations, you know. So, and the company would not be as profitable as it is in general if not for talent like Colbert. Hold on a second. All right, we're back. This is Tara Devlin. And for those who are new to the show, because I know there are a lot of people over on the Substack who are new, that music is, and I'll have to tell Dr. Phillip Polakoff when he comes on, that every Friday we have these music cues, and they're just so I can cut the show down for the for the Progressive Voices app, because this show is rebroadcast on Sunday on Progressive Voices, but they cut it for commercials, so that's what that's for. Okay, but it's really not a break. It's just a little musical interlude, and then we get right back into business. So, yeah, we have a lot of work to do with billionaires and their corporations. And one of the things, actually, I've been, because I write for the Political Voices Substack, and if you can, you can follow me for free, but if you can also join the Substack and contribute to the work, and the Political Voices Substack. You can please support that too, because this is the liberal media. You're looking at it. But I was writing an article. I didn't get to finish it yet, but really, because what was on my mind is that I've been saying this all along, how surprised I am that the corporations and the rich, how they bent the knee so quickly without even putting up any kind of resistance. And for a second, I had to really kind of, get a grip, because of course they did. When in history have the corporations stood up to fascism? Right? We have a very recent example of the rich arming Hitler and their corporations, arming the Hitler war machine, even as they armed, even as Hitler illegally built up the German army in direct violation of the Treaty of Versailles. So, I guess I should not be as naive to think that corporations and people in positions of power would have the courage to stand up to the baboon, to the measurably worst president in American history. As we know, over 50 historians at the last time when he slunk out of the Oval Office, when he wasn't man enough to respect the peaceful transfer of power that was good enough for George Washington, and went about trying to overthrow the government, and sent his mob to defecate and urinate in the halls of the Capitol, to beat cops, to try to stop the peaceful transfer of power, to calling up to the Secretary of State of Georgia saying, I need you to find me the votes to win, stealing classified secrets so he can wave them around at Maramoron and impress his very underwhelming, greed-centered friends. And, of course, paying off a porn star, using campaign funds to pay off a porn star that he underwhelmed when his third trophy wife was home recovering from childbirth. All of these in direct violation of campaign finance laws. And, if all these masters of the universe couldn't stand up to that, like I do every week and every Tara show and every time I write an article, right? It's the little people out here. It's the small, not billionaire funded podcasters who are standing up. We're the ones in the breach here. And it really is disgusting that the likes of, pick one, CBS and Paramount and all the rest that give in to this baboon when all they have to do is stick together. But the fact is, I really have to get a grip. Corporations, they don't give a shit about democracy. They don't care about promoting the general welfare, for fuck's sake. I mean, who are we kidding? We have to, and this is the thing here, we have to force them legally and peacefully to do it. I don't care. Oh, they love their red, white, and blue bunting around the 4th of July sales, don't they? But they'll happily continue when this country officially falls to authoritarianism, because that's what Traitor Trump is doing, and all of the cabal, all of these un-American, anti-democratic threats to democracy that infest our government now. They're following Viktor Orban's playbook, and the corporations love that because there's no unions, just like what happened in the rise of the Third Reich. They loved the fact that they could take advantage of slave labor. And they all knew what was going on. It wasn't a secret. So, I gotta, let me see, hold on. Where is it? I mean, really, and the other day, I'm sure you saw those clips of Mehdi Hassan discussing, well, not discussing, there was supposed to be a debate with, what was it, 20 far-right Republicans, supposedly, against one normal person. Well, Mehdi Hassan, and that's what struck me, too, because I've been watching some interviews of him, discussing his experience. And my first thought was, God, there's a lot of fascists here. And they're not even embarrassed anymore. And this is what happens when, of course, corporations have taken over the media. And it's only going to get worse now because the Supreme Court just ruled again. Where is this? They just made it worse. As always, this effing Supreme Court. Let's see. Hold on a second. Supreme. Yeah, the Supreme Court recently issued a decision involving media ownership laws. In this decision, the court upheld prior deregulatory changes by the FCC, which is, everything is turning into an arm of the dear leader, allowing for the relaxation of rules that previously limited how many newspapers, radio stations, and TV stations a single entity could own within a local market. These rules originated in the 70s, were intended to prevent one company from dominating media in a community and restricted cross-ownership between newspapers, radio, and TV stations. Now, those restrictions were already relaxed thanks to the Telecommunications Act of 96. Now, there are no guardrails. There are no boundaries for the rich to own everything. Oh, and they're coming for shows like this. Hold on. Really, make no mistake, for real. They are coming for shows like this. They already throttle the so-called liberal media on Twitter and every other social media platform, Facebook. They already suppress our voices. It's we're really up against very powerful forces, but the fact is that's because we're right. As FDR said, I ask you to judge me by my enemies. We're on the right path. We're on the right side of decency, dignity, democracy, humanity, as I always say. And how we can tell that is by the very fact that they're throttling our voices. And that's why we need each other. That's what this is, a community show. I can't do this alone. I depend on you guys. So yeah, let's see. The court found that the FCC acted reasonably and within its authority when it decided that these restrictions were outdated. Now, coming from a fascist cabal that wants to drag everything back to the Dark Ages, except for now they want to go progressive on these outdated FCC rules. Right, they want to make sure, they want the Washington Commanders to call themselves the Redskins. No, what was that? Is that what they were? The Redskins? I don't know. Well, I don't watch sports, so I don't know. I knew it's some racist name, right? And if it's racism, they're all for it. But, they don't want to, they want to get progressive on all of the rules, meaning they want to make it worse. They want to make democracy dead. That's what they're doing. And this is what the Democrats have to start messaging. I wish they would listen to me, because I say it all the time. I know how to message to these to people, in general. But we need to reclaim patriotism. When they go after FCC rules, the reason they're there, the reason we have, in the past, we had restrictions on media ownership, consolidation, and the like, is because it's a protection against not just monopoly but oligarchy. That's why we used to understand these things, like the estate tax, what the filthy fascists call the death tax. That's a tax against, they say, we don't want you. You can't even be dead without paying a tax. When this is a tax that 0.0001% of the population actually pay, because it is a tax against intergenerational aristocracy. That's it. A bloated fortune. About giving your ill-gotten gains to your undeserving heirs tax-free. And people used to understand that, having an estate tax would prevent the development of an intergenerational aristocracy, the likes of which the founders fought a revolution to overthrow. This country was supposed to be the antidote to that. Promote the general welfare. We're in this together. E pluribus unum and all that woke shit. But I am so sick of this illegitimate and corrupt Supreme Court, and that's how the Democrats have to message it. When you say the Supreme Court, you say illegitimate and corrupt, or if you want, mix it up, corrupt and illegitimate, because it is a corrupt and illegitimate court. And let's start by the fact, all of them, not just the ones that Trader Trump shoved on there. Before Ruth Bader Ginsburg's body was even in the fucking ground, that bitch Amy Coney Barrett jumped over her corpse. You see, this is what gets me. Now, Merrick Garland, we know, is another one, but he's such a milquetoast, Merrick the Meek, and he was someone that the Republicans had said, it was Lindsey Graham who said that, if Obama nominates somebody like Merrick Garland, I think we can all get behind him because he's such a, nothing. And we saw that, because he should have put Trader Trump in prison on January 8th, right? But, so Mitch McConnell blocked Merrick the Meeks, and then what did he do? He called up Neil Gorsuch and said, "Hey, would you want to help me corrupt and illegitimize the Supreme Court?" It's not just violating a norm. They followed the Nazi playbook. That's what the Nazis did. I don't know. I guess the Democrats are too busy playing by Marcus of Queensberry rules to point that out. But that's what they did. That's what the Nazis did. They would shove their Nazi judges onto the bench. So whenever they did anything illegal or murdered a political opponent or whatnot, it would get in front of the Nazi judge and they would nullify it. And this is what we're seeing with the corrupt and illegitimate Supreme Court. And we know they're corrupt and illegitimate just by the mere way that they were shoved onto the bench. Now, just like when Traitor Trump called the Secretary of State of Georgia and said, "Hey, I want you to find me the votes to win." And he said, "Nothing wrong with saying you recalibrated. Nothing wrong, right? To steal the election. Nothing wrong with illegitimizing the vote of your state by, just finding the right number that he needed." And the Secretary of State of Georgia and all of his, he's not exactly a real hero of democracy, but he said no. There are some lines some Republicans didn't cross at the time, but because, Traitor Trump was ready, willing, and eager to steal the election. But when Moscow Mitch McConnell called Neil Gorsuch and said, "Hey, you want to participate in this coup against the court with me?" He said, "Yeah, bitch, sign me up. Count me in, Moscow Mitch." Same thing with the rest of them. Kavanaugh. I mean, all of these unfit scumbags. That we had to endure their tantrums, right? Banging the table, crying. Could you imagine if anyone, especially Ketanji Brown Jackson, imagine if she cried and banged the table as if being a Supreme Court justice was her birthright. Hold on, we got Dr. Phillip is calling in. Hold on, doctor. Hold on. You hear me, Doc? All right, hold on a second. I'll put you in. You're in the green room. Hold on a second. Let me assign you to the camera. Sorry, I have to talk myself through it. Let's see. You surprised me there. That's why I thought we were. Hold on, didn't have track of the time there. All right. Hello. Can you hear me?
I hear you very well.
All right. Nice to meet you, Dr. Phillip. Can you pronounce your last name for me? Because I'm very bad at that.
Yeah, it's Dr. Phil Polakoff, but I'd rather you just call me Phil.
Phil. All right, Phil. That's easy for me. Nice to meet you, and thank you for coming on the show. We were just talking about, the book that you wrote, Building the Healthy American or America Ecosystem. Do you want to give us a background?
Why? It's evolutionary. It's sort of where I've seen our society have a fragmented, inefficient, and ineffective system for many decades. And how do you bring the definition of health into each and every one of us as well as our society? So it was a way of trying to be entrepreneurial, innovative, and interconnected.
Right. Well, your book, let me see. I'm trying to get I have it here. I wanted to show people because it's not like a regular book. It's jam-packed with information, and the way it's written is so palatable and easy to understand and comprehend. And I love it, the way that you've created this to. Wait, hold on a second. When you hear that music, that means we're going to a break. We'll be right back with Dr. Phillip Polakoff, MD, building the healthy American ecosystem. Oh, jeez. Hold on. I dropped my mouse. We're back. Sorry. So let me explain. When that music goes off, that's because the show is rebroadcast on Sunday on the Progressive Voices app. So it's just a music cue for them to put in the commercials, and we really don't go anywhere. Just so you know, if you're in the middle of a sentence, just be aware of the music. So anyway, so Doctor, we were discussing that pit in our stomach that we have for living in these interesting times under the authoritarian regime. And can you explain, how we can, help that pit?
Well, I think your question's very powerful. I think all of us, as both individuals and as communities, larger groups and smaller groups, have to be more proactive. We have to interact. We have to be interconnected. We have to be interdependent on one another,
right,
and have more civility and truly believe in democracy.
Yeah, because that's what we're dealing with now. Because what is your background in general?
In general, not to create a resume, but I've had the privilege or the opportunity of looking at life through many different lenses. I started in agriculture, worked on farms, then did some environmental engineering and looked at the Delaware River, the pollution in that. Went on to medical school and saw a lot of civil rights issue in Detroit in the mid-'60s. Then became a commissioned officer in the U.S. Public Health Service. Traveled around this entire country and overseas looking at workplace health and safety, and then dealt with a lot of social issues over the years, as well as being a clinician, as well as taking on the political structure.
Right. I mean, because the connection between the health of the democracy and the health of the people, I mean, what does research say about this relationship? To me, it's one of the things I would like to see in my lifetime, and I hope that I get to see it, is universal health care. And I think it's part of why the country is so divided, on top of many other issues. But, the connection between the health of a society and the health of the people, to me, it's clear. But what do you, what does the research say about this?
Well, let's try to get a baseline definition. Democracy is a pro-social system that connects people and recognizes their human rights. It creates a sense where people understand what their basic rights are, and health is considered by me and many others as a basic human right. It hasn't ever come to aid. So if we look at the definition of health from a historical point of view, the Declaration of Independence talked about it's an unalienable right in 1776 to have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's part of health. We then go to the World Health Organization's definition of health in 1948. Health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. And I would insert the word spiritual as well. So we've seen a lot of evolution of different programs, health maintenance organization, consumerism. We've seen acts like Medicare or Social Security in the 60s. And now we're in the 21st century, and we're seeing things going in a backwards direction, in my opinion.
Right.
It's time to be more proactive and more solutions-oriented than just talk about problems. So we have a crisis now, both in the public health world and the clinical world, but we also have the opportunity to see change, meaningful change.
What is that opportunity, though? Because it's hard for me to see these opportunities right now.
Well, thank you for your question. The opportunities are if we start to think in a more interactive way. So what we're doing is we're putting forth a petition, make health a basic human right. With
Right.
that, if we can get the legislature at the local, the state, and the national level to be a little bit more bipartisan or neutral or nonpartisan
Right.
and look for ways to incorporate a dialogue on health, not one way or the other. Right now, current administration has some leadership that says the only major issue is getting dyes out of our food.
Right. Right.
And we're not taking on historically, which has been very in a bipartisan way, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the data that's necessary to understand natural disasters, most recently in Texas, 130 lives went out. So there are bright spot stories. And let me give you several, and you can drill more down.
Yeah.
In LA, they repaved a lot of the school parking lots with community gardens. In Flint, Michigan, they took on the water issue and improved the quality of the water issue. In eastern Kentucky, Appalachia, they built housing on abandoned strip mines. So there are many bright spot stories that have data that shows a commitment to change. In New York, they have solar energy parks.
Right.
So it doesn't
Yeah.
matter where in the country, each one has a different culture, but they all have the empowerment with the proper leadership and strategic planning to get things done. To answer your specific question, how do we improve on stuff? So you have to improve it from the health system we have now. It should be a right, not a privilege.
Right.
It should have access and quality of care and be cost sensitive, because right now you have many people who are losing their health insurance with
Yeah.
Medicaid going away for them, or the Affordable Care Act not
Yep.
holding up. That's millions of people and trillions of dollars. And one last point that's really relevant to Tara's passion is that right now we're spending $4.7 trillion on sick care and 2 to 4% on prevention and health promotion. That doesn't
Right.
work.
Yeah. Doesn't make sense. And it's really heartbreaking, too, because it does feel like, and we are going backward, especially with millions of Americans about to lose their Medicare and health insurance in general, the little that they had. Every step forward, it feels like, the American people, I don't understand why we are so easy to do that to. Because if that happened in any other country, there would be riots in the street, But I guess that's because they have health care as a right of citizenship, and this is the only country that doesn't have that. So I know that
You're
health
spot on. You're spot on. If you look at the countries around the world that are industrialized, the U.S. is way down the list, 34th. We lack longevity because of this. We have a higher rate of chronic disease because of this. And let's not forget the SNAP program, which is
Right.
food stamps
Yep.
is being taken away from people. And there are many people who live in rural America who feel isolated. The Surgeon General recently said we have an epidemic of isolation, and people are feeling it with being very stressed out. So the American Psychological Association just did a survey and found that 77% of Americans are manifesting their stress through severe anxiety and not knowing how to cope with it.
Yeah, but America, I mean, it's, to me, I feel like it's kind of ironic, or it really is cold comfort for this Surgeon General to, lament the isolation and loneliness and stress that the American people are under, when it just keeps getting worse, when this administration is cutting lifelines and leaving people as if with nothing. So, and we're all kind of, and that's how I feel the American people are. We don't have, we're not unified. We don't consider each other, as far as the general welfare. We're not concerned as long as I got mine. I feel like a lot of Americans are just like, hoping that they are flying under the radar until it hits them. And I just don't know if there's anything, and besides the things that you were talking about, the local actions that people can take, how can, we find any kind of relief in an administration that seems so determined to harm millions of Americans? It's to me, that's why we're stressed. We have no lifelines. It feels.
Well, not to challenge Tara.
No, you please do.
But I think one should have a little bit more positive attitude in a challenging time. So with spirit, hope, and energy.
Yes.
With civility.
Yes. Hold on one second, Phil. We'll be right back with Dr. Phil Polakoff, Building the Healthy American Ecosystem. All right, we're back. Thank you, Phil.
So to repeat, it's I think one has to have an upwards or goes upstream rather than downstream.
Right.
If all we do is talk about the problems and don't look for the solution, and there are ways. There's an election. So the elections are coming up, and you can get involved in the election process. You can make sure the mandate is done fairly and legally, not done with fraudulent behavior. So that's one way. Two, you can go and meet your community. So if you're, let's say, a health provider, you don't always have to wear a white coat and use your identity. So I can use Dr. Polakoff all I want, but if I go into the community, I'm like Tara, I'm Phil. And you find out who your neighbors are and who your communities are. And you may develop a small project. So I use one line: think bold, start small, move with passion and purpose. So go see where you're at. Now, to say that's easy, Tara, and not challenging and not somewhat, looking for success points, you need good data. So good data now is under jeopardy because the data, whether it's weather data or if it's communicable disease data, is being challenged. That's not healthy. But we have to go sort of a pivot back to where we were and hold leadership bipartisan accountable. And our challenge is, can we have an open hearing in Congress talking about the petition we're putting forth? Can we have it so they feel they own it, not any individual own it, and they can act on it? I think it's possible. I think it's possible that you can develop a commission, a bipartisan commission on a healthier America, a healthier we. So that's why we're putting our Healthy American Ecosystem, where they look at this not just solely from a sick care model, but look at education. We have to deal with health literacy, which is more than just talking about health in a school. You have to know your community, what that means. Environment, you have to know, with all the heat waves that are going on and the dehydration and the people suffering, you have to address that. Public safety, how many stories did you hear wherever you are about this violence or this criminal act or whatever? We have to address that. So you keep going on. All this is what we're defining as the Healthy American Ecosystem. It's just not sick care, because they all impact your housing. Homeless people impact not only themselves, but could spread contagious disease to others. So all I'm saying is, how do you look at this in a holistic manner, have open conversation, look for pilot projects like we mentioned, it doesn't matter where they're at. In a place called Cuban, New Mexico, the town came together, it's not an affluent town, and developed parks and pathways and nutrition. In Loma Linda, California, there's a thing called the Blue Zone, where they took on the issue of improving longevity with proper lifestyle and food. So to answer your question, there are lots of opportunities to engage today rather than just say, woe is me.
Right. Well, it's true. I'm not. I'm a half glass. What is that? Glass half empty type person. Yes, usually,
That's right.
but I'm not completely hopeless. I just feel like it's incredibly daunting. That's why I wanted to have you on as well, because I believe in and as the audience knows, I talk about healthcare a lot in on the show. And one of our issues is that because we don't have universal health care is how we're partly why we're so divided, that we should think of each other as, more interconnected and interdependent, because we are. And I think that, this is how we've been able to a lot of people have been able to go under the sway of this authoritarianism and I really do hope that this is a time that wakes people up from that, out of the pain. You'll see that, there are other ways to, more successful way. That's the other thing that drives me crazy about our health sick care system, like you say. It's that it costs more than the next most expensive system, double. It leaves millions out. It consistently ranks dead last on all positive measures. But why why do we allow that to go on? We should really have more self-respect and even just with finance, with money. It costs more and it leaves millions out, and and banks needlessly kills thousands, bankrupts millions. But all over the world, when you look at the happiest places on earth, they seem, in my opinion, to do it correctly. They're in it together. They understand work-life balance. They have robust social safety nets. And part of the reason I do the show too is to hopefully, get the word out. I think a lot of the American people don't. I don't know what it is. Maybe you can let me know, because you've done the research and you are in this field. Why is it the American people don't know that there are better ways to do it than what we're putting up with in our health system?
Well, as I say, I rather talk about the word health, which absorbs the health system, absorbs sick care. There's ways that you have to messaging it. So I applaud you in what you're doing. I would only challenge you. I don't know where you're based. I believe you're based in New York.
Yes.
Okay? Fair enough? So here's a little challenge for you, Tara.
Yes.
I'm coming to New York to give a speech in the end of October.
Okay.
I'd be delighted to hold the Tara and Phil town hall to discuss what we're doing, where
Sure.
people have an opportunity to interact and have their questions raised, as long as they're sort of not negative in a way.
Of course.
Attacking,
I'm not negative.
Hey.
Don't take it.
Yeah.
I'm not a negative. I'm not like,
So, no, but I'm saying the discussion, I think if you listen more than talk,
right.
people want to be heard. They want to be given opportunities to express themselves, but also given opportunities to hear solutions and positive bright spot stories with data. There are a lot of bright spots. They exist in your city. There's stuff that's going on in Brooklyn about public safety. Kay Bain is doing a lot of work bringing out people and hearing. So you have to go into communities and stop
Right.
the separation between the rich and the poor. There is a gap. Okay, this society is definitely money and me. It's
Right.
definitely technology oriented, which is both positive and negative. So with artificial intelligence gaining a lot of momentum, you have to make sure there's a human voice with artificial intelligence. There has to be checks and balance. Even with telemedicine, it
Right.
works for some, but unless you know its value and you have relationships. So I'm promoting that a lot of the health providers could take off their white coats and go in the community and have involvement in civics, almost the old
Yeah.
era of, and in
Right.
1910, just so you know, there was a major transformation of the health education system, the Flexner Report. It took a lot of second-rate medical schools owned by private sector and made them into more evidence-based academic schools. That's a positive story. Now, with that, it also created some issues of diversity issues. Who was getting educated? Turns out it was more of certain ethnic groups than others. That wasn't healthy. So it has to be addressed.
Right.
And
Right.
the more we train community health workers and give them incentives. So if we could give incentives for change rather than penalties for change. So
Yeah.
even with the Medicaid, now we have to talk about what's your work requirements. Do you meet it or not?
Oh boy.
Some people are
Oh, boy.
disabled and they can't do it. I mean,
Right.
so we have to, but we have to tell the stories with multiple voices from multiple genders,
Yeah.
race, ethnic. So the voice is heard
Wow.
in a collective manner.
Right. How hard is it to be a doctor in the United States? Really?
Well, it's a changing time. I mean, one, you have to do your undergraduates and have the credentials to get admitted to school. Two, there's financial wherewithal.
Right.
Who's going to pay for your education? Three, do you feel that there's work-life balance and is there a social purpose? Because there is a discrepancy on what the different physicians make. A neurosurgeon, a cardiovascular surgeon has one income level. Those who are in pediatrics, geriatrics, psychiatry have a different level. So you have to find a
Right.
way to reimbursement, a business model that has fairness and based on excellence, okay?
Yeah.
And each state has different models for their delivery systems. It would be nice if there were appropriate standards and regulations that we all abide to. That doesn't mean there can't be changes from one state to another. Can't we make, so when we talk about public health, I put out just the 5 P's. The 5 P's, P is for personal care. P is for population care. P is for public health. P is for the place you live, you work, and you play. And the last P is political will. Do you have the political will to take on what's going on now?
That's great. Hold on a second. We'll be right back with Dr. Phil Polakoff, building the Healthy America Ecosystem. All right. We're back. Go ahead. Sorry, Phil.
Well, no, that's okay. So it's just a way of thinking. So can we make our thought process simple and elegant? As someone once said, do we have clear objectives and do we have key results to show we're making progress?
Right.
Having communications, what you're doing, I'll give you kudos for having conversation and sharing a voice so others can listen and challenge
Right.
whatever. Constructive criticism is healthy.
Yes.
And you learn from failures. So if you don't
Right.
do something, you don't know if it's good or bad. So I'm just motivating people to get more engaged and find their model of a community that they want to relate to. And get
Right.
engaged with new people in their life.
So, because you have a nonprofit called a Healthier We, and that focuses on democratizing healthcare, if I'm not mistaken. And like, what does democratizing healthcare look like for you?
For me, it's we're all in this together. We all have communities. We have to be socially interconnected with other people. We have to be involved in our communities, whether it's local, regional, state, nationally. We have to find those people who have leadership that we believe in, or coach ourselves to be more leader oriented. We have to find bright spot stories that give people hope, whether it's in Mississippi in the Delta or in Michigan with the water or California with the blue zone and longevity. It doesn't matter what your story is, or it could be a broadband, because a lot of this country is not connected with enough power
That's right,
to get the
yeah.
message there. And then we have another story now is where the public broadcasting is being challenged for its existence.
Exactly.
That's not a good story. The story with USAID, which has helped people all over the world deal with HIV, and now they're being challenged, and some of that
Yep.
can come into our own being. So we have to do some pivoting now, and we have to be thoughtfully committed to change.
But do you think that we'll be able to make any real progress with this administration, though?
I think if they're challenged, this administration likes to have positive stories, whether it's the same positive
True.
stories that we like. So I think if we can lead them, they can participate in this petition, make health a
Right.
human right. No one's
Right.
stopping them. They can take on some
No, you're
social
right.
issues. They could also get a Surgeon General in place that is
Right.
meaningful and data-based oriented, based on evidence. They can communicate the stories in a way that attracts more attention rather than a divided story. So I think.
Well, I wish, really.
Oh no, everything you say is true, but I do believe change doesn't occur overnight.
No.
It's like you have to start the moment, which I applaud you for. The moment today is a moment. Two, how do we get some momentum? That's why I'm challenging you to do a town hall or
Yeah.
a conclave in New York,
I'd love
or it
to.
could be someplace else, because you have a targeted audience that believes in Tara Devlin, so that helps build the opportunity.
Sure,
And
sure.
then you have to develop a movement for meaningful transformational change. Doesn't come easy. It takes resources to make it. It takes leadership to make it. It takes data to make it. But many years ago, I took on the asbestos issue with a very famous doctor in New York, Irving Selikoff. We then went out and screened 15,000 shipyard workers from World War II, Rosie the Riveter, the women who worked in the shipyard. And all of a sudden, it got to Congress and they passed legislation on recognizing the impact asbestos had. The same
Right.
thing happened with
Wow.
coal workers in Korea. So there are laws that have been created. Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, did get legislated with a bipartisan vote.
Right.
So no question that, and there are people on the other side of the agenda from which you're talking to, are physicians. The senator from Louisiana is a respected physician.
Well,
Cassidy.
I hear you, but that's why it's so
he-
disappointing, to see some, the votes he's taken. It seems, especially
You're
with,
absolutely correct.
yeah,
But
yeah.
give them an opportunity to be heard in a collective environment. And to
I
justify
like your
their
attitude.
position.
You have a very good attitude that I could probably do well adopting some of it. Well, I'm a bit more of a cynic, and I just I do not give up. That's for sure. That's why I do the show. I would never tell anybody to give up, and the show isn't just about negativity. It really is about building a community and being involved in making positive change. So, but I'm also want to be realistic too, and
I'm not challenging you on your belief structure. What would be helpful to me is who's in your community who's hearing our voice.
Well,
Because that makes
yeah.
a difference.
Yes, definitely. Well, I know that. I mean, this is a liberal podcast. We don't have billionaire benefactors, that's for sure. And, a lot of our audience, I've listened to their struggles too, and losing health care, living paycheck to paycheck, things like that. And it's, we're living in very difficult times, especially now when people are losing the lifelines, what little lifelines they've had. And I really do want to see this country, actualize its promises. We're in this together. That's what we always end up, we wrap up the show every week with "we will win." We're on the right side of history, decency, dignity, democracy, and it is about leaving no one behind. That's one of the messages, I think, with health and in general with other issues, that we can message. Universal health care, for example. We don't leave anybody behind. That's how you put it. When I was in the National Guard, and we used to drill on leaving no one behind. That someone would have to get rescued, and we got to pull them out, and we don't. That to me, is the essence of patriotism. We don't leave anybody behind on the battlefield. We don't leave them behind on the battlefield of sickness, education, whatever it might be. And I hope that this country can, can get there. I know we can, one person at a time, that's for sure. A lot of us, I think, we're all crying out for that, really, for that community, like you're saying.
Well, I applaud you. I mean, we all live our life in different ways and seen crises. I was a diplomat on September 11th, 1973, and I was invited by the government of Chile to go there, and there was a major overthrow of the government when I was there.
Wow.
So it took years to change the government, and now it's
Wow.
much more democracy and civil. You can say that in Detroit, they've cleaned up after the race riots there in the 60s, and now are making progress. So there are stories. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen as quick as you like.
Right.
And it takes leadership and persistence. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, if it helps you, if anyone wants to share their solutions with us, they can look at our website at healthywe.org and communicate what they think the answer is of the questions you raised, and collectively we'll make a step forward.
Yeah, all right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time and joining us on the show. That's the end of our Progressive Voices part of the show. You can hear the music. And, I just want to invite you on again, and hopefully we can get together when you do your town hall here in October. That would be amazing.
Well, you got one word. You got one word, Jess. Then
What's
wrong.
that? What's that?
It's we. You got one
Right.
word. It's we, not I.
Okay.
Okay.
You're absolutely right. We stick together, we win. Thank you so much.
Because I believe in you. Thank you.
All right, my
Take
friend.
care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. All right, guys. Wait, hold. You could just hang up, Phil. It's okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I'll talk
Appreciate
to you
your
soon.
effort.
You got it.
Okay. Take care. Stay well.
Yes, you too. Thank you. All right, everybody. Yeah, that was interesting. What do you guys think? Dr. Phil Polakoff. He's a very positive person. And I have a humana. It's hard for me. That's why I like to hang around happy people, because I'm not I'm like I said, the glass half empty type person a lot, but I'm not a hopeless person, I'm not hopeless. If I were hopeless, I wouldn't do the show. I would just, do what I always threaten to do, and that is escape to Ireland and turn my back on the country and sit the rest of my life on a goddamn cliff staring into the sea. That's what I would do. Maybe I'd take a break from staring into the sea now and then I would help. I would probably just do animal rescue and things like that. They have animals in Ireland that need rescuing, no doubt. But he is a great guy and a great guest. Oh, thank you. WTF Dad Shoes is back, and he's super chatting like a madman. Thank you. So I wanted to tell you, I didn't see you earlier in the show because I said I want to send you a mug. Did you send me your address? You did not. I didn't see it anywhere. But in any case, at this moment, the Tarabuster merch store is down. Some bullshit happened with the it's run on Shopify, and the guy who did the store, because I can't do everything. He used a theme he didn't own, and then I got hit with a copyright, and I didn't notice, and they took the store offline, so I'm trying to get it back on. And thank you, Michael McAndrews, for your super chat. 2 super chats. One says, the show must go on, and the other says, Tara is the best. And I want to agree with that. I would like to agree with you. Sometimes I agree. Sometimes I'm my own worst critic. So thank you for that. Very positive feedback. And WTF Dad Shoe says, great guest. I'm glad you enjoyed the Dr. Phil. Not that Dr. Phil, thank God. But, sometimes it's like, it's hard for me to talk to people that are positive. Just kidding. I'm only kidding. He's a great guy. I appreciate all he does, and what an experience of, where he's been, what he's seen, and I don't know. And thank you, Ed, for your super chat, and thank you, Jim, for your super chat, and thank you, Jim, for also being a moderator in the chat room. So, yeah, thank you, guys. You're really keeping me, blushing here with these super chats. I feel the pressure now. The heat is on. I don't know. So let me know what you think in the chat. He was a great guest, I think. It was a little hard, like in the beginning, because he wasn't supposed to call in until 9:15. Truth be told, I didn't have my paperwork up. And so I was like, oh, fuck. So, but that's fine. It's fine. He called in when he was supposed to call in. And he's a very nice person. I appreciate him inviting me to a town hall. I'd love to. I'm not a doctor, as you know, but I'm not kidding when and you guys know because you've been watching the show a while, the OG Tarabusters on the YouTube channel have been, listening to me go on about the, universal health care in this country. It's one of the reasons we're so fucked up. Oh yeah, good idea, Josie. On the chat says, I want Dr. Phil Polakoff. Is that? No, am I saying it right? Such a bad interviewer here. No, but his book is pretty cool. It really is. The way they wrote it is very accessible. Yeah, Polakoff, yes. But Josie says, where is it? I want Dr. Phil to talk to a room full of MAGA. Yeah, he should. Because that's why when we talk on the show about messaging in general, and this is where the Democrats fail. And I want them to listen to me. And in fact, if you watch the Tara show on Thursday when we had Rachel Bitterkoffer on, we were discussing messaging, and she said at one point, I'm trying to get her on this show because I want to have a more extensive, in-depth conversation without the time constraint of the hour on the Tara show. But because she was saying that they don't care that, and she's done the research, so it's in her book. Then and she's interviewed the maggots and interviewed normal people and the maggots and all that. But I guess Dr. Phil would hate to hear me talk like that, call them maggots, but it is what it is. We're just being facetious over here. It is Friday night. But so she was saying, Rachel Bitterkoffer was saying, well, they don't care, about climate change. And that's true, but there was a study that was done of advertising marketing firms, how you can reach different political persuasions, and they were trying to sell them solar panels, and they got more of a positive response when they presented it as something about preserving the Purple Mountain's majesty and all that. And I do believe that the reason the Democrats have a very low approval rate, so this is what is so shocking in general, that for all the filth that the fascists are, and for all the harm they're doing to the people they pretend to represent, the Democrats still have a lower approval rating than the Republicans. And that to me is really disheartening and shocking. But it is an example of the fact that propaganda works, that we got to get the message out. The people don't like the Democrats because, and maybe I'm wrong, and you guys can you could tell me I'm wrong in the chat. We could talk about it. But I think that it's because the American people, of course, the propaganda from the right has turned the Democrats into a joke. Okay, that they're just the elites, the arugula eating elites who don't fight for you, right? And for all Trader Trump's flaws as a human being, he's fighting for them, even though he's not fighting for them. He's a parasite, sucking the life out of them. And the fact that this prolific pathological liar wins the battle on the ground of truth. They consider him a truth teller because he calls people fat pigs, right? That in itself is shocking, how the Democrats can lose that battle, lose to such a disgusting waste of human DNA. And the reason is, I think, is because the Democrats don't seem to fight. They don't seem to just say the truth. Like when they asked, and we talked about it on the show many times, when Bret Baier was attacking Kamala Harris and she, interrupting her, and then he asked, what are you saying? Would you say that half the country who supports Trump, that they're stupid? And Harris said, "Oh, I would never call the American people stupid." Why not? Why the fuck not? And I don't mean it like that, but maybe not stupid, Harris. You got to be yourself. But wouldn't it be more effective if she said that, no, I don't call them stupid, but I do call them misinformed. And in fact, they're misinformed by you, Bret Baier. Hold on a second. Is this the end of that? Oh, shit. Hold on. I'm just cursing and I don't know. It's not the end of the Progressive Voices part of the show yet, but anyway, whatever. It's happening. Time just keeps on ticking. But am I wrong there? Am I fucking wrong? No, because if that's what happened, if she said, no, I don't call them stupid, I call them misinformed, and I call them deliberately misinformed. And yes, Terry on the chat said, I did watch that show, Tara, talking about the Tara show on Thursday with Rachel Bitterkoffer. Terry writes, Rachel is fascinating to listen to. She doesn't mince words. Is the Democratic Party listening to her? And she said that they are. And I hope that they are. She is a Democratic consultant, if I'm not mistaken. She's fucking great. I want her on the show, and because she did. What did I say? Oh, she said that I was wrong about, because I said, correct me if I'm wrong, that the reason the Democrats don't fight, a lot of them, is because you can't serve two masters. That they want to be the party of Wall Street and the party of Main Street at the same time. And then she was like, yeah, you're wrong. Because the Democrats do pass, they're the only party that passes any kind of legislation that helps people, and that is true. But I also think I'm right too. I don't know. You guys let me know. I think that the Democratic Party is, thinks too much about not upsetting either constituency. They want to still appeal to this unicorn of the disaffected Republican that's never going to vote for the Democrats, and they also don't want to upset the big money donors. And that's why I want her on the show. I sent her an email. She hasn't responded yet. So, but I want to get her take on the Democratic Party's response, a shameful response to Magnani, right? And that's a case in point right there. That she's, I mean, that the fact that Kristen Gillibrand and Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries have yet to even congratulate him on his win is absolutely shameful and disgusting. So, and they're all gearing up, I hate to tell you guys, to fuck him over with this goddamn Cuomo son of a bitch. Another sexual predator. I'm just so sick of it. I'm sick of the sexual predators running shit. Aren't you? But, okay, speaking of, I wanted another thing. What were we talking about? Oh, this bitch, Ghislaine Maxwell. This filthy bitch. There's nothing worse than a female who is a sexual predator. I mean, you expect that from men, don't you? But Ghislaine Maxwell is a special kind of evil. Not only did she recruit victims for the likes of Traitor Trump and his pal Jeffrey Epstein, who they share a wonderful secret of raping little girls, you fucking disgusting scums. But she participated in the rape of these girls, and she's an evil bitch. And I always remember watching one of the documentaries about them. I don't know where it was. There's a few of them out there. One I think was called Filthy Rich. And one of her friends, someone from England who knew Ghislaine growing up. They went to college together. They both came from wealthy families. And she ran into her in New York, and she was out trying to recruit young girls for this fucking pedophile, this piece of shit. And the friend said something like, "What are you doing? You know, you're bringing these girls to, this fucking old dude." And Ghislaine Maxwell, I don't remember the exact context, but she said to her friend that the girls that she was sexually abusing, they are trash. That's what she said to her. And this is the fucking mindset. They are trash. Okay? And that's what they all think of us, guys. I hate to inform you. We're talking about the Ghislaine Maxwells of the world, the Prince Andrews, the fucking Jeffrey Epstein, the Traitor Trumps of the world. They live in a different world than us. And we are all trash to them. That's why they can cut our lifelines. That's why they can fire us and kick us off our health care and keep us in, the least upwardly mobile country, that they could take power in a country that is already the least upwardly mobile, that went, because of FDR's policies, we were once the most upwardly mobile with the slightest income gap between rich and poor, and now we're the did I say that correctly? We used to be the slightest, now we're the widest. We used to be the most upwardly mobile, and now we are the least upwardly mobile. Ever since Reagan. That's, the truth. And these fuckers, the scum, Traitor Trump, took office. They saw our country, what it was, that we had the widest income gap, wider than it was in ancient Rome. And they said, you know what we're going to do up in this bitch? We're going to make that income gap wider. We're going to make that upward immobility even more immobile. In fact, you bitches are going backward. Why? Because you're trash. You're just trash. You're nothing. That's what they're doing. Make no mistake what's going on here. And like I was saying earlier before Dr. Phil called, that I'm surprised in my own I guess, naivete, is that how you say it? That why I would be so shocked at corporations bending the knee so quickly to this baboon when all they give a shit about is money. And this is the problem, and that's why the country has an epidemic of loneliness, why we feel so isolated, why the American people are the most stressed out in the developed world, because we're all just one paycheck away from disaster. I mean, this is the truth. When Trader Trump was in office the first time, despite receiving fewer votes, the middle class, for the first time in generations, slipped below 50% of the population. I don't know why the Democrats didn't scream about it. I was screaming about it. This is the problem, man. It's the problem. The Democrats have got to fight and tell the truth and not be afraid of, offending somebody or somewhere. And she was talking about trans people first, not in no way, shape, or form. And I'm talking about Rachel Bittercoffer, because she was saying that, as far as trans people in sports, or, the way that the fucking Republicans message that is, of course, them playing politics with something that is really not a thing, but okay, it affects, like 1.1, it's like that. This is what they do. And she was saying that, and not bashing trans people, but I'm just saying that there is a way to message trans people. I'm sorry. It is what it is. I'm gay, so I understand. It sucks being in the barrel. But the way you message it without apology is not to say my pronouns are he, him, or they, or whatever the fuck. It's to say, leave people the fuck alone. This is about freedom. You don't like a trans person, don't be fucking trans, but it's none of your business. And you say it without apology. At least that's what I think. All right, hold on. This is the end of the Progressive Voices part of the show. But it's not the end of the show. Come on over to youtube.com/c4channel/Tarabuster or the Political Voices Substack to watch the rest of the show and become a patron at patreon.com/Tara Devlin. We will win. We will win. You know why? Because we're on the right side of history, decency, dignity, democracy, humanity. Thank you, Charlie from APS Radio News. Thank you, Dr. Phil Polakoff, for coming on the show. Building a Healthy America Ecosystem. See you soon. All right. You know what? And I also noticed when I had Dr. Phillip Polakoff that I spelled the book wrong. I don't know. It was Building a Healthy America Ecosystem. I wrote American, but it's absolutely hard for me to say America Ecosystem. I don't know why. It just won't come out of my mouth. American Ecosystem wants to come out of my mouth. Sometimes words are hard. That's why I do a show. But I do it anyway, you see. Even though sometimes words are hard, you do it anyway. Okay, so let me see. I was talking about Ghislaine Maxwell because right before the show started, I saw that they fucking gave this bitch immunity. Am I mistaken? I hope Dr. Phil is not listening now, and because he can hear all these curses coming out of my mouth. And I would not, my mother wouldn't be proud. That's all. Let me see. She has been granted limited immunity, also called the proffer immunity, for meetings with the Department of Justice. Why are they meeting with her? Of course, we know why. Because Trader Trump is nervous. He's in the Epstein files. We all know it. And what is that? I mean, what are the Epstein files? They're flight logs. These are, it's just all of the transcripts from depositions. They're all of the evidence that he's involved, that he's around when Jeffrey Epstein, let's say, we all know he abused young girls, but Trader Trump was around. He knew it. And in the depositions that were made public, he's, he raped some young girls, underage girls. And it's absolutely disgusting. Tara Dublin, not that she read this part of this deposition. It's on her Twitter feed. It's pinned to the top of her Twitter feed. Wait, hold on. I meant to. Shit, I didn't. Because I have a clip of. Maybe I can find it on YouTube, actually, or on Twitter. I meant to send this over to myself, and I didn't do it. But there's actually video of this young girl giving the deposition. Let me see. It's importing from my phone. And it is, and she writes, or she not writes, but she discusses how Trader Trump raped her, that he wanted a rape fantasy. This was in her sworn deposition, that he wanted a rape fantasy. Then she told him that she was a virgin, and he didn't give a shit. And then later was told by Ghislaine Maxwell that she should be happy that such a wonderful person like Trader Trump took her virginity. That he had her tied down on a bed, and she was screaming and screaming no. And he was, doing his rape fantasy. And she said that, I don't think this is a fantasy. Like, you're raping me. It's really absolute filth. This is who the president of the United States is. And you know what? Republicans, they all know it. They knew it before. And the fact that they're now protecting him. Over on Fox News, they really are working like the demons that they are to protect him. I want to play this clip actually here. Let's see. That this made me want to puke. Oh, not that. That's me. What is that? Where the fuck did that come from? Hold on. That didn't make me want to puke. Why is that like that? Oh, I know why. That's because... Alright, shut this. That's my Photoshop. Look at all these Republicans holding a binder that's supposed to be the Epstein files, right? I thought the Epstein files didn't exist. Look at them. We got the Epstein files here. You fucking scums. Well, here's Greg Kelly. Let's see. I'm trying to make... I don't know. It's kind of annoying. Get in there. How come I won't fit the screen? There we go.
She's also been subpoenaed by the Oversight Committee. I think this is great. I do have a feeling that she has been... She just might be a victim. She just might be. There was a rush to judgment.
I want to puke.
There was a lot of
almost
chaos
puked
there for a while. All right. Granted, she hung out with Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh.
And I know that's apparently not good.
Is it apparently not good?
And she's also been subpoenaed by the Oversight Committee. I think this is great. I do have a feeling that she has been...
Wow.
She just might be a victim.
She just might be a victim. says Greg Kelly, for those who are listening audio only. That's Greg Kelly from Newsmax. She just might, poor Ghislaine. She just might be a victim.
There was a rush to judgment. There was a lot of chaos there for a while. All right. Granted, she hung
what
out
chaos?
with Jeffrey Epstein.
Of raping young girls?
That's apparently not good.
It's apparently not good. Why don't you rack your fucking tiny brain to figure out why that wouldn't be good? That's apparently not good until Trader Trump says that it's great, right? It's hoax. It's fake news. I don't know what kind of hoax. This is all supposed to be a Democrat hoax now. See, that's how. I mean, maybe he's right. The Democrats are that ineffective that they would come up with an entire hoax and never ever release it. They would just sit on it and hold it and hope that when the con man squats in the Oval Office that he'll release it. That'll show him. Maybe. I mean, maybe the Democrats are just that bad at this. But the fact that Greg Kelly is saying that Ghislaine Maxwell just might be a victim. Well, I don't know about what his definition of a victim is, but it's usually not the one who's raping the young girls. See, Ghislaine Maxwell makes me want to puke, just like the thing that he just said makes me want to puke. When I heard that, I thought, what kind of a world are we living in? Where Ghislaine Maxwell, where there's major media personalities who are making a lot more money than me. They don't have to say, please become a patron. That's for sure. And they get on their well-funded by billionaires platform and say that a sexual predator, sex trafficking woman who raped little girls is a victim. Well, I guess he formed it in a question, I should say. He made it as, she just might be a victim. And I guess that's not good anymore. Hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein, it's not supposed to be good. Well, that's political correctness, I suppose. It's just, we don't like that political correctness. I suppose his brain is malfunctioning. He doesn't know which way to turn. Is Ghislaine Maxwell a victim, or is hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein a way to stick it to the libs? Absolute shamelessness. But this is what's happening on Fox News. And that's Newsmax, but it's happening on Fox News too. They are working their little demon nubs to the bone. Let's see. Where's the other one? Yeah, here's Maria Farmer.
I've never met a more predatory, terrifying human being in my entire life, and neither had Virginia Giuffre.
Talking about Ghislaine Maxwell.
Or Anushka, or many girls like Shantae Davies. There's hundreds of us that were preyed upon by Ghislaine Maxwell. She's a very dangerous person, and she threatened my life on many occasions. I've had to move and be in hiding because of this predatory child predator and just victim predator. So it's completely unacceptable for anyone to call her a victim. The woman is not a victim, she's a victimizer. I've never met a more predatory,
just let that sink in. Never met a more terrifying...
I've never met a more predatory, terrifying human being in my entire life, and neither...
Than Ghislaine Maxwell. That's what she's talking about. Of course. It is pretty terrifying that a woman is a rapist. That's fucked up. And that would make somebody really, really repugnant. Now, I don't know what her damage is. She was probably sexually abused by her own father. There's a lot of people that say that, but that doesn't excuse you becoming a rapist. And but this is what, this is right-wingers now, Greg Kelly, as we know too, let's see, he did face a rape allegation or accusation. But the Manhattan DA's office, let's see, investigated and publicly stated there was insufficient evidence to pursue criminal charges. So, no charges were ever filed, but he is the son of Ray Kelly, who is, a big muckety-muck in the legal. Ugh. God, they're so disgusting, these people. They have everything handed to them, and it's just never enough. They can't act like decent people. Oh yeah, no, not Ray. Ray Kelly is is he still? I didn't know that, actually. I was thinking it was somebody else. He's a American police officer. He was the commissioner of the New York City Police. That's a shame. Wow. Well, there you go. I thought it was somebody else. Now that I'm looking at that, I thought it was, I was getting, not that I'm not a Greg Kelly biographer by any means. I barely like looking at his stupid face. But yeah, there you go. I wonder if that had anything to do with the Manhattan DA dropping the charges or insisting there wasn't enough evidence to pursue charges of rape against Greg Kelly when his father's the New York City Police Commissioner. Oh, God. Wait a minute. All right. Whatevers. All right, what else I wanted to talk about? There's a couple of things. Like, hold on a second. What the hell? There's so many things, oh my God, that we started talking about earlier, like Ghislaine Maxwell, and like, what's that, those fucking Republicans on the Supreme Court, those filthy fascist Republicans. I saw this great cartoon. Oh, no, actually it's the New Yorker. Let me see if I have it here. Look at this. This really sums up what we're dealing with. The New Yorker. I have to make it smaller. See? Look at... If that's not accurate, I just don't know what is. And to get back to that, actually, let's get back to what I was talking about earlier about the corrupt and illegitimate Supreme Court. Let's see. Supreme. Yeah. This should be bigger news. I didn't hear this on any other any other podcast or anything, really, that the Supreme Court issued a decision involving media ownership. Did anybody? Raise your hand. Did you hear this on the corporate media at all? Of course not. Why? Because the corporate media is owned by these billionaires that just got more powerful, and they're going to keep everybody in their place by making sure that they own the message and the platforms and the bullhorns. There's a reason every authoritarian takeover begins with the consolidation of the media into the authoritarians' clutches. And I love it. I'm just reading some of the I asked the AI to give me a summary, and it said critics argue, and I'm talking about the court found that the FCC acted reasonably and within its authority when it decided that the restrictions for media consolidation were outdated. Unlike everything else, right? Everything else that the Republicans are doing are dragging us backwards. But they got to get all modern and shit when it comes to this FCC, which don't be fooled, of course, when they're saying, oh, we got to get modern here. What they're talking about is going backwards, of course, to not, and I don't mean going backwards to where we had the democratic laws that protected the media from consolidation. I'm talking about going backward to oligarchy, where education will be a providence of the rich. What do you need? The media. Don't worry about it. Your job is to just be a little worker, be a little host from which to suck profit and discard, while the rich run and rule everything. And in order to do that, they're going to need they're going to need the media, the entire media. Justice Kavanaugh, and what's really very disappointing is that it was a unanimous decision. It is now legally possible for one person or one company to own a greater share of local media outlets than it was in the past. And it was pretty fucking bad in the past. And I'm talking ever since the Telecommunications Act of 96 that gave us Fox News and Rush Limbaugh, then and the New York Post, and markets where Rupert Murdoch can own the network and a local television station and the newspaper of Fox News and radio stations. How is this conducive to a successful and functioning democracy? Of course it's not. But that's what we're up against. That's the point. Unreal. So Kavanaugh, just as I like beer, emphasized that the FCC considered evidence about competition, localism, and diversity, and reasonably decided that the old rules no longer serve the public interest. In what way? Justice I like beer. Could you give us an example? And then it says critics argue that this opens the door to more media consolidation, where large corporations could undermine diversity of viewpoints and local media coverage. Of course, that's what's gonna fucking happen. We know that's what's gonna happen. That's what I knew that was going to happen when I was a little undergrad studying communications, and Bill Clinton signed the Telecommunications Act of 96. I knew that. We all did. We all discussed it. This is terrible. This is going to cause media consolidation. It's going to push other voices out of the market. But, okay. Every step, it seems, that we've taken in these past 6 months, we've been, closer and closer towards an oligarchy. And that's what I gotta write that article. Really. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. About, my own failure, I guess. What's that? The failure of an imagination? To think that corporations would somehow stand up to authoritarianism. No, you know what happened? Well, I'm sure you've seen it. Like, after Trader Trump's first term, when there was the after action reports all over on corporate media, they'd say, well, the system's held. Right? Oh, all the hand wringing, and everybody was saying, oh, it's a Nazi, and see, it stood up and held. Well, not much anymore. Not when, we're in for round 2 and Trader Trump has an entire political party that's abdicated its Article 1 powers to this goddamn baboon. And then you have a Supreme Court that's clearly on the side of this corrupt. I mean, this is the same Supreme Court. You're talking about like Alito. Remember how they flew their flag upside down when Joe Biden was elected legally and peacefully? How that bitch wife, could you imagine if Ketanji Brown Jackson's husband flew the flag, their family flag, upside down when the fucking baboon got elected? Shamefully. Shame on this country, really. Shame on this country. We have so much work to do. And if there's one positive thing, I guess I can say, in keeping with Dr. Phil's, challenge to remain positive, is that at least Trader Trump has shown us where all the weak points are. And we knew it, You could predict it, but we are going to have to, do something when we get this country back from these fascists, because that's what they are. They don't like America. They don't like democracy. And that, when all the time we were, and I know you guys listen to me go on about Nancy Pelosi, and I even mentioned it to Rachel Bitterkoff, how I was so sick of listening to Nancy Pelosi say, Republicans, take back your party. The American people need such a great Republican Party that's done so much good for America. No. We don't need a Republican Party. The Republican Party is they are the domestic enemies the founders warned us about. That's the message Democrats need to get out there. The Republican Party, they're not a pro-small d Democratic Party. They're not trying to have a functioning democratic republic that works for all. They're trying to drag us back to the system the founders overthrew. That's why it makes me sick whenever I listen to these Republicans say, oh, we're doing it for democracy, we're doing it for the people. It's gaslighting. That's all they're doing is gaslight. Oh, and you know what? Actually, what time is it? Oh shit, we only have like 10 minutes left. I wrote an article at the Political Voices Substack, but let me do a little riff here on this, because I want to prove to you guys that, and this is what I wrote about this, what's his name? Larry Kudlow had John Kennedy on his show, and he had a glitch. Did you guys see that? He glitched out. Let me get this off here. And let's just play it for a second. I wrote an article about it. Where is it? Glitch. It wasn't Glitch McConnell this time. Is it Stuart Varney? No, Kudlow. I get them mixed up. I Stuart Varney, and then I had to change it because I was like, oh no, that's Kudlow. It says it right there. So, all right, let's play this in case you missed it. It is Larry Kudlow, this horrible waste of human DNA, another old cracker that's all pissed off about everybody and everything. He hasn't had enough. He doesn't have enough money and power. Anybody that says, please, sir, can you move over and make some room? Oh, that's too much for these fuckers. And then John Kennedy, the old corn sucking, husking, or whatever the fuck, down home, shit kicker, raised, educated at Oxford University. Do you think he talked like that? Well, that dog don't hunt. You think he had all those marbles in his mouth when he was at Oxford? I doubt it. But anyway, let's watch the clip, and I'll prove to you that Fox News is propaganda.
I'm sure Jesus loves them, but everybody else thinks.
Look at this shit.
Everybody else.
You hear this? I don't want to laugh.
I guess we had some more technical problems. That was the same as we lost with Senator Rand Paul.
Can you believe that?
Awful sorry to hear that, because everybody respects what Senator John Kennedy has to say.
I don't know where he went, but it looked like it looked like fucking Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Wherever he was going, I want to go. Jesus, he was just like in the middle of one of his old down-home wisdoms that I'm sure he learned at Oxford University. I'm sure Jesus loves him. The dog don't hunt. Let's watch it again.
I'm sure Jesus loves them, but everybody else thinks. Everybody
whoop.
else.
He's licking his lips.
Yes, we had some more technical problems.
And listen, that's what I wrote the article about at the Substack. So please subscribe, because he comes back and says, I guess we had some more technical problems. Oh, is that what a microphone does to you? Does it glitch you out? Maybe you need to get a whole new set of equipment, because the microphone shouldn't short out your brain and give you a neurological event on live television. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. That dog don't hunt. Jesus loves him. You ever just stare at your hand and...
It was the same as we lost with Senator Rand Paul.
You hear this shit?
Awful sorry to hear that, because everybody respects what Senator John Kennedy
They do?
has to say.
And there you go. And this is what I wrote about, because this just proves Fox News is propaganda. Don't believe your lying eyes. Don't believe what you just saw. In a normal world, what would happen if we were living in a normal functioning democracy with a normal functioning media? What would happen is, if that happened, okay, to me, and I had a guest on and they were like, I would say, are you okay? Are you okay? What's going on? You look like you need medical attention, right? That's what would happen. You would act like this is reality, and because it is, that you're talking to somebody who's not that old. I mean, he's only 73, which is not that old nowadays, but he definitely had some kind of neurological event. So instead of saying, are you okay, Senator? He goes back and goes, wow, look at that microphone, having another microphone problem, just like the one that happened with Senator Rand Paul. He had the same issue, that damn old microphone, dirty old microphone. Must have been DEI that put that microphone in there. Right, that dirty, filthy DEI microphone. But you see what I'm saying? Like, that's that's what would happen if this were a functioning society, and that was a functioning network that had an interest in educating and informing its viewers. No, it has an interest in not just having the people, see something they didn't see. It's a constructed reality. It wants you to believe what they want you to believe. And the fact that the viewer, the Fox viewer / victim, is okay with that they would watch that clip and then Kudlow's response to it and then continue to tune in, says everything. Says that they have absolutely no respect for themselves. They want to be told what reality is, what they're looking at. Because they, this is not news. It's supposed to be news. It's supposed to it's supposed to make people stupid enough to vote Republican. And that requires Fox Business or News, or it doesn't matter, whatever the franchise is, they all have the same agenda. It requires that propaganda network to never ever give the impression that a Republican is weak, meaning has health issues, that they might need a doctor. Because they're not pushing reality. They're pushing Republican power. And the fact that the fucking Fox News viewer continues to tune into it says everything. Says that they absolutely have no respect for themselves. Would you continue to watch a news network that makes its viewers less informed than those who watch no news at all? Studies show years ago, over 10 years ago, a study that was released by that socialist rag called Business Insider showed that people who watch Fox News are less informed than those who watch no news at all. And in the days of Edward R. Murrow, not anymore, of course, because CBS is a fucking joke now, and they've already signaled that the CBS Evening News and 60 Minutes, all of these tentpole programs, will now become more right-wing. Well, kiss my white Irish ass, you filthy fascist propagandists. Shame on you all. But, in the days of Edward R. Murrow, when CBS wasn't a filthy fascist propaganda outlet, when they had an interest in fulfilling the basic duties of being a part of the Fourth Estate, the only profession enshrined in the Constitution as being necessary for freedom and democracy. They understood their very important role in keeping this country free from authoritarian rule. Now they're complicit in it. And in those days, if a study came out that your news network makes its viewers / victims less informed than those who watch no news at all, there would be mass firings in the newsroom. Hold on, I'm going to lower this. And then we'll go back and I'll wrap it up. But there would be, and in the very least, there would be mass firings. Right? They would have to get to the bottom of it. Who doesn't do their job around here? Our viewers are not viewers, they're victims, and they're less informed than people who don't even watch the goddamn news. You should all be ashamed and lose your jobs. And there would be some kind of accountability. The executives would resign in shame. The people who watch the network would demand accountability, wouldn't they? Don't you think? Not on Fox News. When that study came out, they went about business as usual, which says it all. And that's why the Democrats, that's why when Harris was being interviewed by Bret Baier, say, you think the American people are stupid? She should have said exactly what I said. No, I don't think they're stupid. I think they're misinformed by you and this network. Because that's the fucking truth. And you can't even tell the truth to Fox filthy fascist news? How are you going to... How is anybody going to believe you? That's why these morons who vote for Trump, who vote for their own demise, that's why they think Trump is a truth teller, because he calls people fat pigs. He said, oh, I wouldn't rape her. She's not pretty enough for me to rape. And the Democrats that don't call Fox News out, that don't say, yes, people who watch Fox News are less informed than those who watch no news at all. That hasn't changed in all these years since that study came out. In fact, it's worse. Now they had to pay the largest judgment against the media company for lying to its viewers / victims. So that's what the Democrats have to say. And I remember when Obama was in office, and initially he did the right thing. He was another one, though, that was always sticking his finger in the air and trying to see which way the wind blew, and would he be able to get some Republicans to see the light and become normal. Always saying how the fever was gonna break. It never broke. We're still in it. Now they want to fucking arrest him for nothing, for doing his patriotic duty. And his Justice Department, his FBI, investigating these treasonous fucks that colluded with Russia. And we know it's not a hoax. They passed demographic information over to Russian fucking psyops so they could micro-target morons in these red states to get them to vote for their own demise, to vote for this baboon. So the Democrats, and what I was saying was that when Obama first took office, I remember he kicked Fox News to the back of the room, as he should have. You know what happened? The rest of the corporate media outlets all had a diaper filling event where they said this is unacceptable, and they all boycotted the room or something. It was so ridiculous, saying if you're going to kick Fox News in the back of the room, this is authoritarianism. Can you believe this shit? Can you believe this fucking shit? This is what a dictator does. And then, of course, Fox News went off, because they always called Obama. He wants to be a king. Remember that? Remember those quaint days? He wants to be emperor. And look where the fuck we are. And I even then, I was like, in every Republican chest beats the heart of fascism. And they're the ones decrying Obama wants to be an emperor because he's kicked Fox News to the back of the room. And then they asked him about it. And he said, well, Fox News isn't news. It's a propaganda outlet that's dedicated to ruining my presidency, or whatever, however he put it. And he was 100% correct. And instead, you know what happened? When all the other CBS, NBC, ABC, all the other legitimate news outlets that Fox News is not a member of, but they all stood up and said, you can't do this. This is like authoritarianism coming if we allow this president to get away with putting Fox News to the back of the room. And now he, of course, at the time, he went back and he relented. And then, instead of the back of the room, Fox News got the prestigious front row center seat that used to, at one time, be occupied by Helen Thomas. May she rest in peace. And that's what fucking Obama used to do, shit like that. And that's a Democrat for you, though, isn't it? As soon as they get any criticism, it's all right. As if the Republicans have any interest in reciprocating or acting like adults or anything. You tell the truth about Republicans and they cry and whine. When all Republicans do are lie about you. Right. Oh my God. Will they ever listen to me? Will the Democrats ever listen to little old Tara Devlin on the Tarabuster show? And the Tara Show with Tara Devlin and Tara Dublin every Tuesday and Thursday on the Political Voices Network. Will they ever listen to us? Answer me this. I have to say that some Democrats are getting a clue, and that is very encouraging. Like John Ossoff, he gave a very good speech where he called Trump a con man, and he told the truth without apology. And that's what has to happen. I like it. All right, guys, we got a lot to talk about. I wish I had more shows, more time. George Santos went to prison today. That's good. Okay. But that's a Republican for you. He's a Republican. Remember when George Santos was in Congress and they wouldn't get rid of him? Even though he was a documented con man? Just like their standard bearer. And they needed his vote. Right? They needed his vote. This is who we are, who they are. All right, guys, listen. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you, Phillip Polakoff, for Dr. Phil, the real Dr. Phil, for coming on the show and discussing your book. Where is it? Where is my eCam? It is getting late. I'm tired. Let's see. Dr. Phil. Oh, he's not here, but his book is Building the Healthy America Ecosystem. Thank you, Dr. Phil. And thank you, guys. Guys. Remember, we will win. If you can, please become a patron at patreon.com/TaraDevlin. There are other ways to support the show. Super chats. You can follow me on the Substack, please. You can also do a paid subscription. Also, sign up for the Political Voices Substack. Sign up for my Substack for free if you have to, if you must. But in the meantime, if you can help by, financially supporting the show, this show, the Tara Show. Wait, hold on. Buddha. Come here, honey. Oh, look who I got. Look who I got here. Look, Booty. Look, everybody. It's Boudica. Look at her. See, Booty, you're famous. You're a famous little girl. She hates being picked up, but she's too cute not to be picked up. All right, you. Everybody remembers Boudica when she was young. Remember when she was little? She was such a good girl. Let's see. Look at Buddha, baby Booty. Look how little she was. She was the littlest. All right. All right, my friends. Yes. Do all those things, Do all those things I've told you in the e-begging. I love you. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you, WTF Dad Shoes, for your super chat, and Michael McAndrews for your super chat. Super chats. And Ed the Second. And Jim for your super chat, and Ed the Second for your super chat, and for Jim for being a moderator. Jim is also a moderator at the Tara Show on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Thank you for doing that, Jim. Hopefully, we'll get the Tarabuster merch store back online soon, so I can get you some mugs if you want, if you support the show. All right, my friends, I love you. Thank you for hanging out. We will win. We're on the right side of history. Decency, dignity, democracy, humanity. Wait, I want to post the link to the YouTube channel in the Substack before I shut the stream down, so you guys can follow the YouTube channel if you can. Doesn't take anything. You just like and subscribe and all that jazz. But, get the numbers up. Get the algorithms up. All right, my loves. I love you. Let me know what you think. Please. I like hearing from you. I like hearing your thoughts, your requests. We have a Discord page, too. The link is in the description of this show, of the YouTube. I'll put that on the... Let me see. I'll put it on the Substack, too. So you can check that out. And if you want to send me a message, you can send me a message through Discord. If you have anything you'd like to share, I like hearing from you guys. Taking questions, taking requests. And post your pet pictures. Like Twisted Nerves Painting has his cats in there. They're very gorgeous cats. They're those Egyptian cats. I can't remember what they're called. They're beautiful. All right, my hair looks a little shitty right now. Okay, guys, I love you. Thank you. See you Tuesday on the Tara Show, 2 p.m. Eastern time. And I'll see you also on the Substack. I'll be making videos, writing some articles, get the word out about the fascist shit show we're up against and how we're gonna win. Because we will win. We're on the right side of history. We're on the right side of decency, dignity, democracy, humanity. Thank you for hanging out, guys. My name is Tara Devlin. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Please stay safe. And I will see you very soon.